Hello and welcome to another episode in my Warhammer 40k Conquest series. In this episode we're going to be going over how to build and paint your very own Biologus Putrifier. So stay tuned. Okay, so this is the build section. I'm going to go over some quick tips on how to build this chap, but by now you should know how to use your glue, your clippers, the mold line remover if you have one, and you know how to put a chap together. But I'll just go over a few bits just in case. So, as stated, you'll need your guy, you'll need the base for it as well, the plastic glue, clippers, and that. Alternatively, you can also have some super glue to stick him on the base so that you can detach him later for when we get the texture paint and to paint the base, or you can just glue him straight on the base and paint around him. It's entirely up to you. And we shall see if we need any sub assemblies as well. So as always, you follow the numbers and the instructions in the issue. You keep the flat side against the model and be careful not to clip anything that's important. So just clip there, clip as close as you can, and after clipping just check if you got any extra bit hanging off like this. You can always just clip that off and it makes it a lot easier to use the mold line remover. The great thing about these Death Guard models is that if you do mess up a little bit and you score the pieces or whatever, it just counts as battle damage and you can just paint over it as if it's normal, and you know, it makes yours that little bit more individual. So use the mold line remover to remove any mold lines that you can see, and just smooth over the bits that you clipped from, and repeat the process until you got all the pieces you need to start gluing it. Once you got your first 3 pieces knocked out and cleaned up, you then want to glue this section and the front section together before gluing the second leg and blade onto it. So in your plastic glue, just put a little bit around the edges like so. Remember, less is more. Just a bit there. It's going to look like a bit of a misfit, but trust me when I say it's just follow how it just slightly slots into place here. Okay, you see, look, you got like a bit of a strange gap here and that, but that's fine. It all gets covered by a second piece. So what you want to do, put just a drop glue here, here, and here, and a little bit inside there, and then see that's that bit here, that's where the handle will go as well. So you know, it's always good to just try and see how it all fits before you put glue on it, so you know where you're putting the glue. As you see, the blade goes right across where I put the glue there, and this is all glued down as well. If you happen to spill any over, just give it a quick wipe before it starts to cure the plastic, and that way you'll avoid any messy lumps. But again, it doesn't matter, they are champions of Nurgle and it just adds to how they look. So the next stage is to glue the head in to place. Just follow the groove if you wish. You have the snout, kind of looks like he's playing like a clarinet or something. Actually, a clarinet does sound like a clarinet. It's like to put the arms on. So first one is the injector arm. So we just put a little bit here. There we go. And then we got this one. Now you need to just check where it goes, but you'll see it connects here, but also down here. So it connects just underneath the belly there. So what you'll need to do, make sure that's in the right position. Yep. Just put a little drop there, and the tiniest drop there. And then you just slot it in place. And just push the little rack just in under the belly a bit more. Let's put a little bit here and here, and hope that it smudges in nicely. So here's the moment of truth. Ah, there we go. It does fit well enough. Alright. So, I mean, if you are into getting all the details and everything, or making your life a bit easier to paint things, you could do without putting this arm on, just simply because, you know, it's a bit more trickier to get to the blade. But if you're not too fussed, if you know that it's going to be hidden, then yeah, have a go. Next stage, the racks. Another little thing to take on board is that if you do happen to have more than one of these guys, then you can always follow the slight conversion option, and then all you'd have to do is that little bit of a pipe that's on that shoulder guard, you just trim it off, so you got the head facing a different way, just for a little individuality if you've got more than one. And also these racks are more customizable than you think. It's very easy if you've got a blade to cut in between the vials, and to cut the little bit of the string as well, and you can have different ones missing, or you can swap bits around as well, so you can customize these racks actually quite easily. Once you've got these out and all neatened up, make sure you have the right ones for the right section. Bit sticking out here, and you have a groove in here, so that is where the little bit will go, and this will go into that groove up there like so. I'm going to rename this one Mosquito Marine. Alright, so if you're going to glue them on the base, and you don't have super glue, which is easy to snap off, then I would suggest just gluing one foot. I'll do the tiniest little bit on that foot because it's got the least contact, and that way you should be able to pop it off the base when you need to, but it's enough to hold it in place until you need it. See this bump here that sort of fixes it in place? Just going to try and neatly trim that off like so. There we go. Now I should be able to just put the head in whichever direction I want, which is great. Just position it slightly like so, so it connects a bit, so it looks like it connects at least. With this positioning, as you can see, there's a slight overlap, so if I just trim a slight bit off the bottom bit, it's just that minuscule little bit. There we go. Get a bit of glue on there. and hey presto. But with a bit of paint you won't notice the difference. It just means he's not looking to the side, he's looking off the other way. Alright, so here we are in the build section where we will be painting the Biologus Putrifier. Now, it should be easy enough. You already know how to paint up a Plague Marine. But if you don't, I'll go over it quickly with you now. So first you want to start off with a good couple of even coats of Death Guard Green. So make sure you put it on your palette, you add a little water just to thin it slightly so you get a nice even consistency, and you just start from each section and you move on all the way through. So make sure that you don't just blob it on and smudge all the details. You want to make sure that you take your time with it and cover it head to toe, because this will give it a nice base to add other colours on top. Okay, so once you've done a couple of coats and it's dried, the next stage is to use Abaddonn Black. Now you're going to use this to fill out some of the details like the vials, making sure that is the glass ones, or the ones that will be painted as glass in the future once we get more paints. So these will be the vials that don't have dents in them, which will later be painted as metal ones, and the tubes and pipes and stuff like that, the ribbed parts at the back of the armor, and you know, the usual details that you normally fill in with black. Do remember that it may take a couple of coats to get a nice even consistent covering, but that's okay. You just take your time with it and use some thin even coats. Next is to use Retributor armor for all the trim on the armor, and for those metal vials that we talked about before. So just take your time with it. Again, you might have to do a couple of coats with this, so just make sure that you do even coats, and yeah, fill out whatever details you like. There's also shoulder pad details and other iconography that you can do as well. Once that has dried, you can then go with lead belcher and then start painting in things like the syringe gun. You've got tubes around the face as well, and the metal bands on the vials as well. Also, don't forget you've got the plague knife and the chainmail that shows round the back between the legs. So make sure that's all dry, and then we go on to using Agrax Earthshade on all of the gold areas. So make sure you give it a real good coating, as you want to enhance the colour, but you also want to make it look a bit more rough and ready, a bit more worn. So the heavier you use it, the dirtier it will look. Once you've done that and that's dried, you then move on to the Null Oil. This you will paint around all the silver parts, so the plague knife, the chainmail, and the tubes. Plus, you'll want to do the banding on the vials as well. So just be careful with that, and try and not let it spill too much over into the gold. Bugman's Glow is the final colour, and you'll want to paint all the lovely tentacles that you can find around. So there's one on the arm, there's like crab-like things holding the plague knife, and there's a couple of tentacles around the back as well, including on the heel. So this will definitely need at least 2 coats, and once you've done that, you should be done. So here are a few pictures of what it should look like if you have followed the guide in the book, and might have done a couple of bits differently, but it's up to you if you want to follow the book strictly or if you want to do your own thing. Thank you again for joining me for this episode. I hope you did find it informative. Please do remember to like and share, comment below what you think, subscribe, and most importantly, I want to see what you guys are up to. So find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Show me what you're working on. I really want to see it, because I want to get some inspiration from what you guys are doing, as well as hopefully you getting inspiration from what I'm doing. So we can feed off each other for inspiration. So thanks again for joining me, and our closing thought is reason begets doubt, and doubt begets heresy. I'll see you next time.